Hello everyone, it's that college football guy here with another video. Well, as promised, it's the preseason prediction review show. Yeah, prediction. It's like a frog. What are you gonna do? This damn flu is nasty. I ain't gonna lie about it. But for the Sun Belt Conference, the final, the group of fives I did from last year, for the preseason. For those of you that are tuning in and don't know what's going on, at the beginning of the season, I made preseason predictions for the win-loss record for every team in the American, the Mountain West, and the Sun Belt in the group of five, as well as every team in the ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, Pac 12, and SEC. Conference championship games, I sucked. I wasn't close on any of them, except one. That was the Mountain West. I got that one right. I just got the winner wrong. Everybody else, so, is what it is. Made the start of the goal is, can I finish with a two-thirds winning percentage, 67%, when it's all said and done? Well, the first two went good. This one, no, Sunbelt just killed me. All right. Basically, what I'm going to say is we're going to go through the first one here and I'll walk you through it and how it gets done. Again, pay attention to the other ones. Like I had, our first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the the Sunbelt West first. Before we even get into this, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Everyone, please smash the like button, smash that thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm, helps with the analytics, helps the video be seen by more people. Comment on the video. I love interacting with everybody. I want to hear your opinions about this. And subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 300 subscribers. All right, now I'm going to go through and basically tell you like what I said it is. If I say it's the opposite, that means I got it wrong. Like, first thing we're going to do is start with the Sun Belt West, Arkansas State. I had them beating Grambling State, losing to Ohio State, losing to Memphis. You didn't hear me saying anything because I got those actually right. Losing to Old Dominion, beating Louisiana Monroe, losing to James Madison. I had them beating Southern Miss, they lost. Losing to Louisiana, beating South Alabama, they lost. Beating UMass, losing to Texas State, losing to Troy. So out of the 12 games I predicted, I went 10-2. Louisiana. Actually, I should say one thing about Arkansas State. I had them preseason going 5-7. They went 3-9. Now, Louisiana, I had them going 9-3. They went 6-6. Southeast Louisiana, I had them beating Southeast Louisiana, Eastern Michigan, Rice. They lost to Rice. Lost to Louisiana Monroe. I had them beating Louisiana Monroe. They lost. Had them beating South Alabama. They lost. Had them losing to Marshall. They won. Beating Arkansas State. Lose to Southern Miss. Beating Troy. They lost. Beating Georgia Southern. Losing to Florida State. And then beating Texas State. So I went 7-5. This one I'm not happy about in this conference because I got my first negative out of every one I've done so far, and I'm not happy about it. South Alabama, I had them going 6-6. They went 10-2. Yeah, you already know this was a bad one. And I'm beating Nicholls State. Had them losing to Central Michigan. They won. Had them losing to UCLA. Had them beating Louisiana Tech. Had them losing to Louisiana. They won. Had them beating Louisiana Monroe. Had them beating Troy. They lost. Had them losing to Arkansas State. They won. Had them losing to Georgia Southern. They won. Had them beating Texas State. Had them losing to Southern Miss. They won. Had them beating Old Dominion. So I went 6-6 in that one. Not good. Now we got Southern Miss. I had them going 6-6. They went 6-6. So at least I got the overall record right. But let's see here. There's my paper slides all over the damn place. I thought when they faced first game of the year, they faced Liberty. I figured with no Malik Willis, they'd win. Nope, they lost. Had them losing to Miami, beating Northwestern State, losing to Tulane. They actually beat Tulane, which is a shocker. Losing to Troy, losing to Arkansas State. They won. Beating Texas State, beating Louisiana, losing to Georgia State, losing to Coastal Carolina. I had them beating South Alabama. They lost. I had them beating Louisiana Monroe. So I went 8-4 in that one. Now comes Texas State. Had them losing to Nevada, beating FIU, losing to Baylor, beating Houston Baptist, losing to James Madison. Had them losing to Appalachian State. They won. Losing to Troy, losing to Southern Miss, losing to Louisiana Monroe, losing to South Alabama, beating Arkansas State, losing Louisiana. I had them going. It was 3-9 on the year. Their prediction. They went 4-8, so I went 11-1, predicting Texas State. Not bad. Only one game off. All right, Troy. I had them going 7-5. They went 10-2. Had them losing to Ole Miss, beating Alabama A&M, losing to Appalachian State, beating Marshall. I had them losing to Western Kentucky. They won. Had them beating Southern Miss and Texas State. I had them losing to South Alabama. They won. Had them losing to Louisiana. They won. Had them beating Army, Louisiana Monroe, and Arkansas State. So I got the losses right. I just got the... I gave them more losses than they actually had. So I went 9-3 on that one. Now, Louisiana Monroe, speaking of, I had them. I predicted them going 2-10. They went 4-8. I had them losing to Texas, beating Nicholls State, losing to Alabama. Like, that's a shock. Losing to Louisiana, they won. Losing to Arkansas State, losing to a bunch of teams in a row. Losing to Arkansas State, Coastal Carolina, South Alabama, and Army. They lost all of them. Beating Texas State, had them losing to Georgia State. They won. Had them losing to Troy and to Southern Miss. So I got the 2 wins right. I just didn't get 2 other wins right. So I went 10-2 in that one. Now comes Appalachian State. We're in the Sun Belt East now. I had Appalachian State going 9-3. They went 6-6. Had them losing to North Carolina. Had them losing to Texas A&M. Well, they pulled off that upset and won. Had them beating Troy. Had them beating James Madison. They lost. Had them beating the Citadel. Had them beating Texas State. They lost. Had them beating Georgia State and Robert Morris. Had them losing to Coastal Carolina. Had them beating Marshall. They lost. Had them beating Old Dominion. Had them beating Georgia Southern. They lost. So it was 7-5 for App State. Now we get to Coastal Carolina. I had them going 10-2. They went 9-3. Had them beating Army, Gardner Webb, Buffalo, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and Louisiana Monroe. Had them beating Old Dominion. They lost. Had them losing to Marshall. They won. Had them beating Appalachian State and Southern Miss. The Virginia game was canceled because of the shootings. And I had them beating James Madison. They lost. So they actually didn't go. So they went 9-2 instead of 10-2 because of the canceled game. So I went 8-3 in my predictions for Coastal Carolina. Georgia Southern had them going 5-7. They went 6-6. Had them beating Morgan State. That was a win. Had them losing to Nebraska. They actually won that game. Had them losing to UAB, beating Ball State, losing to Coastal Carolina and Georgia State, beating James Madison. So far, so good. Losing to Old Dominion, they won. Beating South Alabama, they lost. Losing to Louisiana, had them beating Marshall, they lost. Had them losing Appalachian State, they won. So I went 7-5 in that one. Now, Georgia State had them going 6-6. They went 4-8. Had them losing to South Carolina and North Carolina. There's a shocker there. Both of those happened. Had them beating Charlotte. They lost. Had them losing to Coastal Carolina. They won. Had them losing to Army. They won. Had them beating Georgia Southern. Losing to Appalachian State. Beating Old Dominion and Southern Miss. Had them beating Louisiana Monroe. They lost. Had them beating James Madison. They lost. Had them losing to Marshall. They won. So they went 8-4 in that one. We had a good run, but just messed up. It actually went 8-4. Actually, I correct myself. Having lose to Marshall, they did lose to Marshall. So I got that one right. So it's 8-4 for that one. James Madison, I had them going 5-6, but they only played 11 games. They actually went 8-3. Had them beating Middle Tennessee State and Norfolk State. Had them losing to Appalachian State. They won. Had them beating Texas State and Arkansas State. Had them losing to Georgia Southern. They won. Had them beating Marshall. They lost. Losing to Louisville and losing to Old Dominion. They beat Old Dominion. Had them losing to Georgia State. They beat Georgia State. Had them losing to Coastal Carolina. They beat Coastal Carolina. So I went 6-5 on that one. Then comes the one I'm pissed about. Marshall. Had them beating Norfolk State. They won. Had them losing to Notre Dame. They won. So I got Norfolk State right, but Notre Dame wrong. Had them beating Bowling Green, they lost. Had them losing to Troy, they won. Had them beating Gardner Webb. Had them beating Louisiana, they lost. Had them beating James Madison, they won. Had them beating Coastal Carolina, they lost. Had beating Old Dominion, got that one right. Had them losing to App State, they won. Had them losing to Georgia Southern, they won. Had them beating Georgia State. I went 5-7. The first time I ever went under 500, which I am not happy about. Too much ping pong in the Sun Belt. There's no clear-cut teams. Make it a lot harder to make the predictions. We're gonna go to Old Dominion. I had them going 4-8. They went 3-9. Had them losing to Georgia Tech. I had them losing to Virginia Tech. They won. Losing to East Carolina. Losing to Virginia. Beating Arkansas State. Had them beating Liberty. They lost. Losing to Coastal Carolina. They won. Had them beating Georgia Southern. They lost. Had them losing to Georgia State and Marshall. Had them beating James Madison. They lost. Had them losing to App State and South Alabama. So I went 7-5 on that one. So if you add all of it up, you have 10-2, 7-5, 6-6, 8-4, 11-1, 9-3, 10-2, 7-5, 8-3, 7-5, 8-4, 6-5, 5-7, and 7-5. Out of 166 potential games, I went 109-57, 65.7%. Not good enough. I finished under 500 for that one. By the way, those who are asking what my preseason prediction was, I had Coastal Carolina beating Louisiana for the preseason prediction. I said it was Troy beating Coastal Carolina, so I got one of the two right. For those who didn't know, on the American, I had Cincinnati beating Houston. That wasn't even close. In the Mountain West, I had Boise State beating Fresno. Instead, it was Fresno beating Boise State. But yeah, that's how that one went down. So I had a bad performance with the Sun Belt. I need y'all to let me know down in the comments. What do you think about this? I mean, like, Sun Belt seemed like it was a lot of, you lost to teams you should have beat, and you beat teams you should have lost to. Just too much ping pong. Just very even. A lot of new teams in there, and that may have caused the problem. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this. Let me know what you think. So thanks, everybody, for watching this video and dealing with my froggy voice here. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday evening. Be safe out there. And please, be good to each other.